Law developments in Ecuador, you could say, have been taking place very rapidly through the last 3 years, in which a lot of legislation has come out that touches in some way advertising. And basically you have the Communications Law and the Consumer Protection Act. And then a bunch of regulations with matter specifics such as alcohol, tobacco, advertising to children, food products, health products on the health code. To give a quick review, and as one of my colleagues said, in Ecuador, as long as you follow the general principles of truthfulness, clearness, the adequate of the information that's provided to the consumer, you would be okay. Nevertheless, there are some specific regulations. For example, advertising is considered any type of paid form of propagating ideas. So you could say, well, I may as well do it for free, it's not advertising anymore. Well, no, you do have a specific regulation that states that any advertising for commercial purposes must be paid for. So almost anything could be understood as advertising because the mere fact of propagating an idea would be understood as such. As I mentioned, all advertising must be accurate, truthful, opportune, clear, complete, sufficient. Parties involved. Why is it important to understand what the parties involved are, such as advertising agencies, advertisers, producers, networks, media? Because they have joint liability. And all the parties involved may have joint liability depending on the act or infringement to be evaluated. All advertisers must approve the content to be advertised or prepared by the agency, must certify the qualities and characteristics of the product, and the agency is liable for the truthfulness, for the content and the truthfulness of such content regarding the product or service, and can be fined for up to $3,700 aside from any damages that might be claimed. Production. All advertising pieces to be communicated or used in Ecuadorian territory must be produced locally by an Ecuadorian company or a company whose at least 51% of the stock is owned by Ecuadorians or foreigners legally residing in the country. Within that rule, you have an additional rule of the 80%. The people involved with the production on any advertising piece must at least 80% of such be Ecuadorians or foreigners residing in the country. It is not allowed to import advertising pieces produced abroad by foreign companies. What an Ecuadorian company could do is travel abroad and produce, for example, a commercial abroad under these two rules. If the advertisement piece does not comply with the above cited provision, it would be subject to a fine of up to 50% of the collected amount due to its placement. What does that mean? One could think it's 50% of the cost of placing the commercial, where the authority does not understand it that way, and they say it's up to 50% of the profits that could be identified as the benefits obtained because of such placement. If no direct benefits can be identified, which we probably would be 99% of the cases, then they'll just go after the profits of the largest pocket. There's an exception to the above cited rule regarding pictures, images, or audiovisuals, that the ones that in some way advertise foreign films, artistic, cultural, sporting event hosted outside the country do not need to be in accordance to the local production rule. Foreign travel destinations, animated or fictional characters whose image is protected by intellectual property rights, or if you have a model that represents the brand. Regarding audiovisual work, if it's produced abroad, it could only be up to 20% of the whole duration of the audiovisual. Content regulation regarding children. Of course, parental consent, that such may not directly or indirectly stimulate unrealistic expectations regarding the product or service, should not take advantage of the age or lack of maturity of children or adolescents, may not pressure parents to buy, like a claim saying, tell your parent to buy you this or that product, and may abstain from having scenes that in any way may affect or involve moral, psychological, or physical integrity. No reference or allusion whatsoever to any type of sex or sexuality content. Should never discredit the authority of parents or educators. May not promote or generate or develop inferiority feelings to a child because of not owning such a product. General rule of not be misleading, and basically to respect all the rights that may be recognized by the Ecuadorian Constitution to children and adolescents. Alcoholic beverages and tobacco is not to be advertised in any way. It can only be advertised within the places in which the products can be consumed and to which minors do not have access to. Other than that, they are totally banned, and may not be linked with health, social, success, sports, or type of events as well. And since my time is up, I will just conclude that probably the most regulated industry is the processed food, in which you are not allowed to do comparative advertisement. You're not allowed to use children, which is at the time a huge issue because you have a lot of family gathering content or images, which are at the moment not allowed, and basically will depend on the authority on how to engage such control. Thank you very much.